Well, good afternoon to you from Rosedale Park in Albany, and what is a very hot, warm afternoon here in Auckland, just off the top of Auckland's northern motorway, where this afternoon the world champions of softball, New Zealand, will be seen in action in a double-header against the visiting American side, Larry Miller Toyota from Utah, one of the crack club sides in the United States. In fact, they're ranked in the top 5 in the US, and despite the fact that they didn't give New Zealand much opposition yesterday, we can tell you from what we've seen of them today that they've adjusted to the heat a lot better today, and we're in for 2 very thrilling and absorbing games of softball this afternoon. 2 very important matches also for New Zealand, who in essence this weekend are beginning their build-up for the defence of the World Crown, which they won 2 years ago and will defend in 6 months' time in Canada. Also this afternoon we have some cricket for you, for those sensible citizens who are tucked up in bed and sound asleep at 2:20 this morning and didn't witness that sensational finish to the one-day game at the Wacker Ground in Perth. Well, at 4:45 this afternoon we'll be showing you the last 45 minutes of that dramatic match, as Australia set about trying to achieve that target of 233 runs off 50 overs. Well, it's a very special year for the sport of softball in 1988. Not only is our men's team defending the World Championship title they won 2 years ago, but this season the sport is celebrating 50 years of softball in New Zealand. And with me at the moment is one of our good friends and a man who's watched the sport of softball develop over the last 25, if not 50 years, is Gary Ward from one of the great softball families of New Zealand. Tell me a little, Gary, a bit about the history of softball in New Zealand going back 50 years ago. How did the sport, in fact, get to New Zealand? I imagine somewhere along the line there must have been a fairly strong American influence.
Indeed, there was. In fact, it's interesting that this team is from Utah, Salt Lake City in Utah, and the first game of softball played in New Zealand involved the Mormons, and they brought the game, if you like, to New Zealand in some way, but there has been a very strong American influence on the game, generally speaking, and I'm talking about visiting warships who visited here during the Second World War and that sort of thing, and also the Ford Motor Company, again an American company, so they too had their influence on New Zealand softball. But you know, it's developed so far now that there's very little American influence on the game here. We now stand alone as champions of the world, and the men and the women picked up a title this year after having lost the world title first thing last year, but they're back on top again. The youth team is good, and here we have our New Zealand men's team defending their world championship at Saskatoon in Saskatchewan in the middle of 1988, and so you know, here it's fair to say that we're the best in the world at the game, and that's something for us all to be pretty proud of.
And this weekend, essentially, the New Zealand build-up for the defence of that championship title is underway. We didn't see much from the Americans yesterday, but I understand, just from what I've seen of them around the diamonds today, that they look a little better and a little sharper today. Yeah,
well, they came from 2 feet of snow 3 days ago into these temperatures that we have here today, with the sun baking down and the temperatures that you mentioned a little while ago. They've taken a bit of adjusting, but they've coped with that, and we've already seen a bit of them today. They're a first-class side, and they'll give New Zealand a real go, I think.
Thank you, Gary Ward. We'll be hearing more from Gary and our old friend Marshall Seifert later in the afternoon. But before we go to the Diamond for the second of the 2 international matches today, we'll go back a couple of days to the Rothmans Cup final here on Saturday. This was the match between Wellington and Auckland, the culmination of a week of frenetic softball here to find the champion provincial side of New Zealand. Well, going into this final, Auckland and Wellington, the 2 teams, Auckland with 2 lives, and the task for Wellington was to beat Auckland twice to win this championship. We pick up the match in the bottom of the 3rd innings with no score. Bottom of the 3rd innings here at Rosedale Park with Auckland at bat, no score in the match. Peter Meredith pitching to Tom Perenara. Meredith, who had a very good game this morning against Hutt Valley, Marshall, but I wonder if he's not perhaps just feeling the effects of it. He looks just a wee bit tired.
He's got to be tired. The game he had thrown in the morning was as good a game as you will ever see, but at the moment he's got to be on the tired side. But he's so good that he may even stay on top in this game here. But he's got to be tired, and this young man can bat. And there it is, it's a hit over 3rd base, falls fair, safe on 1. You're right, Brendan. The tired man on the mound.
This is Rod Fowler next into the batter's box. Auckland, and he's advanced with that sharp little bunt, Perenara to 2nd base. So a good scoring opportunity here, Marshall, now for Auckland.
1st and 2nd, none down.
This is Carl Gould.
The captain in, captain's knock. Now, he was just hit, but he was leaning in. So it's called a dead ball because he was leaning in. Now we have a protest here, and it is ruled that he, wait for it. We've got a big discussion going on here.
I think he's going to get a walk.
Well, I think he was leaning in. No, he got first base, so it's bases loaded, Brendan.
And this is Dave Wall, top of the batting for Auckland. Great opportunity here for the Aucklanders to go one up in this match. No score so far.
Well, it's bases full. None that good strikeout by Meredith. Now, that's what I mean about a champ. He's tired, but he's still humming.
Things still looking pretty good for Auckland as Dean Rice moves into the batter's box. This man who can bat left or right-handed.
And he's fast, Brendan. He is really, he's got the wheels, as they say. Good eye. There's a good, it's a slap hit. It's down to, it went right through Hall's legs at third base. Bad error by Wellington.
And Tom Perenara comes home for Auckland. That's the first run of this match. Auckland to a 1-0 lead as Perenara comes home on that fielding error by Wellington. Now this brings Eddie Kalassi into the batter's box with those bases still loaded and only one out.
Well, it's clutch time here and a danger man in. Well, the black and yellows, it's uphill now, Brendan.
Rod Fowler on third base for Auckland.
Oh, you know what it is.
And Cal Gould there on second. So an opportunity here really for Auckland to take a real hold, a real stranglehold on this match. Bottom of the third. Auckland ahead by 1-0.
Meredith needs to throw well here. He needs a strikeout, actually. But it isn't. It's a line shot. The play's at home. He's out. Now, that was a forced play at home. Good softball.
So this brings Murray McLean into the batter's box. And those bases are still loaded with Carl Gould there up to the left on third base. Auckland ahead by 1-0. Still bottom of the third.
This is not the man you want to see when his base is loaded against you. He's our sort of best at the moment. He'd be our crow. He's got a wonderful eye. If the ball isn't a strike, he can spot it fast. As we see there, actually, that was just under the knees. Very good eye, Murray. He's a natural, actually, and very, very strong. Okay, she's all on here now. Base is full and the big man in. Meredith into the windup.
All three.
Ooh, good eye, McLean. He can spot that ball a long way away. Like a Martin Crow, actually got eyes like a hawk. Okay, here we go again, folks. There's a line shot. It's down, but he makes the out at third base to retire the side.
No.
Bottom of the fourth innings with Auckland still ahead by 1-0. This is Jack Martinger, who's fouled the ball down the right field line.
Okay, well, it seems like a long day out in the field at the moment. These Auckland boys are here to bet. They want that championship. But there's an easy out at first base. One down.
Ronnie Gooden. That is box for Auckland.
There's a line shot fair into center field. Safe on one. Wellington is making a great big hole for themselves here. And at this stage, I don't know if they're going to get out of it.
This brings Tom Perenara already with one safe hit to his credit so far from this match. With a runner safe on one. Just the one out. Bottom of the fourth. Auckland ahead by 1-0.
Well, they must get some strikeouts. He's got to wind it up. There's the bunt foul. Pressure is really on here at the moment because you can allow one run, maybe even two. And after that, then it's their ball then. Here's a hit right down the left field line, and it's past him. It's up against the fence. They'll score one. Here he comes. Here comes the throw. He is slid underneath. Great slide. Good call. Good softball. Terrific slide. Went right under the ball.
That was Ronnie Gooden who comes home for Auckland to make it 2-0.
Great hit. Well, Auckland want that cup.
And I guess this is no real surprise, Marshall, to see that Glenn Davis has come on in place of Peter Meredith, who really was starting to tire.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about that. In fact, if he was in a few sort of innings back, I think they wouldn't be down as much as they are now. But here's the Rocket. And you can see why he's called the Rocket, too. He blew that blind. Good. That's a good start. Oh, but that's bad.
And that's Dave Wall, who's been walked. I guess the Wellingtonians a little fearful of Dave Wall. And this brings Dean Rice into the batter's box. With Auckland ahead by 2-0.
Good slap hit, and they're safe all the way around. There was no one on 2. Now, these are mental errors now. This is bad play by Wellington. There's a hit.
This is Dave Wall, who's advanced to third base by Kalassi. This is Murray McLean in the batter's box. Waiting underneath it is Fred Wyatt. And oh my goodness, he's dropped it. Here comes Dave Wall. And that's 3-0, so Auckland score their third run on a fielding error. And there was no further scoring in the match, and so Auckland won the Rothmans Cup for 1987-88, beating Wellington in that first final by 3-0. Well, all is in readiness now for the start of the second match in the doubleheader today between the United States and the New Zealand team. Just a reminder that we'll be bringing you highlights of the first match played earlier today, a little later this afternoon, and also cricket from the WACA. But now we take you to our commentators, Gary Ward, and back from his sabbatical, Marshall Seifert.
In the centre field picture we see out towards the pitcher, that's the picture that you'll be seeing from centre field, where you're to be fielding in that position. And it's a New Zealand team that really should be running pretty hot this afternoon. Pitching for New Zealand will be Chubb Tangaroa, and he has been really the star of the tournament, being so good. And there's the batting order for New Zealand. Fred Wyatt in left field, Eddie Kalassi at second base, Max Elliott on first base, and there you see the remainder of the team. So it's a pretty star-studded team, and Marshall Seifert, you'll be looking for some action from the bat and in the field with these guys.
Well, we're the world's best, I guess. You can't go beyond saying that. It's the Yanks really that have the hard job ahead of them, because they played very badly here on Sunday. Now, they're the top sportsmen, and they played badly. These games here are really a battle with the Yanks between their ego and their paranoia, because they played so badly there yesterday, but at the same time they know how good they are. And without revealing anything, we have got to say that the first game was a cracker of a game, and that the Yanks really looked very, very good. So if they play as well in this game as they did in the first game, then we should have a true international game of softball. But you don't get any better in the world at the moment than our side out there. We are the world's champs.
And that's who Chubb Tangaroa will be pitching against. Randy Ward, Mark Burrup and Gordon Eakin will be the lead-off batters for this American team. And pitching for the Americans will be right down at the bottom there, Terry Stapely, who has been to this country before, Marshall, and we'll be interested to see how he has changed since 1978.
Yes, well, actually, he was on the mound here on Sunday, and he looks a little slow. Remember, it's off-season over there, and they hopped off the plane on Friday. So, you know, I don't know how well he's going to throw. He's very good, and he was here about 8 years ago. In fact, he's made a lot of interesting sort of comments about how improved our defense has been since he was here with that other American side. But I think he will struggle on the mound, and I think New Zealand will score off him.
Into bat, first up will be Randy Ward, but there's Chubb Tangaroa, and here comes Randy Ward into the batter's box. And there's a gruesome-looking character for you, Marshall. He looks as though he wants to get into it.
Straight out of a Western movie, yeah. Ramblin' Randy Ward, he's called. In fact, he's got sort of 5 kids, so I don't know if that's got anything to do with the nickname.
Chubb Tangaroa with the first pitch. Strike one, low and outside, and Randy Ward having to let it go past in these perfect conditions we have at the Rosedale Park this afternoon. An afternoon made for this game of softball.
There's a slap hit, but it's fouled down the left field line. Now, he's a very fast guy, and he does that slap hitting, which is really in vogue now. It's in vogue for one simple reason: it works.
It works indeed, and a lot of these batters, they go for the fence or they go for the slap hit, but they're not really into the little Texas leaguers, which had been a hallmark of softball for such a long time. Tangaroa again to Ward.
Good drop.
Struck him out. What a way to start a game. Now, Tangaroa, this is interesting, Marshall, because Tangaroa used to have a reputation of being a slow starter. That's pretty fast. Look at this pitch.
Beautiful drop ball. That's the story with Chubb. We used to say that if he gets through the third innings, he's the best in the world. Now, this week, he's decided to wipe off that image, and he has. He starts fast, and he goes all the way. He's the most informed guy in New Zealand at the moment. If you want to say who's New Zealand #1 on form alone, it's Chubb.
Mark Burrup in the batter's box, high and inside, and Burrup having to duck away from that. And Tangaroa quite happy to have him back out of the action rather than crowding the plate. Burrup into the batter's box, yet another left-handed batter.
Strike.
Strike one. Chubb Tangaroa, the man of the moment for New Zealand. Ball one, strike one. There's one out. We're in the top of the first innings. There's the slap hit, falling into the no man's land. Oh, and it did too. Well, Kalassi went back and kept on going back, but it wasn't to be caught because it fell in no man's land, and that's the slap hit that Marshall was talking about a minute ago. Have a look at it come off Burrup's bat. Yeah, there it goes. Back goes Kalassi.
Yeah, I've got to say this, though, Gary, that this is the time for the center fielder to dive instead of the guy going backwards. It's what we don't see enough here is over-calling. Now, that may have been just in a very small no man's land, but I like to see the outfielders overshout and make a dive for it.
Well, a frisky runner on first base is Mark Burrup, who's trying to get off that base, and he's taking a big lead, which New Zealanders aren't all that adept at doing. And meanwhile, in the batter's box, Gordon Eakin wanting to get the Salt Lake City team on the scoreboard. We're in the top half of what could well be a very exciting game. Let's hope it is.
Strike.
Good lead down at 1. They're very fast on the bases, and I mean very fast. So if a ball is bobbled or anything is loose, they're gone. They also steal well.
Max Elliott at first base takes a bit of a look round to ensure that Burrup hasn't moved as Tangaroa prepares.
Strike 2.
Bit of an outside pitch, but obviously clipping the outside corner of the home plate. Ed Isaac calling the balls and strikes for this man, number 12, Chubb Tangaroa. Tangaroa to Eakin.
Foul.
Well, certainly seeing a bit of the ball as Gordon Eakin, as indeed did Burrup, and here's Gordon Eakin, the batter, moving into the left-hander's batter's box. That's Eakin. Just doing a bit of vacuum cleaning there on the footing area in the left-hander's batter's box. Tangaroa ready now.
Could be a steal on here.
Strike.
No, struck him out. Struck out Eek. Former pro baseball player there, strikes out.
Well, Marshall, you've got to have a look at this pitching of Chubb Tangaroa, because I've got to agree with you that that second batter should really have been out. It fell into the narrow territory of outfield. Should have taken the catch. Someone should have taken it. It was up in the air for long enough. Yeah, so Tangaroa not to be blamed for that. And in comes Brad Burrup, who is the brother of that man on first base, Mark. Foul ball.
Foul ball straight back.
Foul.
Now, with this guy in there batting at the moment, they say he's the world's best catcher. And he's not far off. He's the top sort of USA man at the moment. He's their top All-American. He's got a nickname of Bird Legs, but you can see the size of him, and I wouldn't call him Bird Legs.
Not if he's listening. Brad Burrup facing Chubb Tangaroa. The steal's on. Will they get him at second? Missed him. Well, good running there, and that's the excellent running that we expect from these Americans who have shown aggression all the way through. Marshall, what a steal. Have a look at it again. Here's the pitch from Tangaroa. Well set up for the ball to be relayed across by Carl Gould, but the throw's too late. The steal's good, safe on 2.
Actually, what we see, well, we won't see it here, but I think they'd spotted the signal and called for the ball outside just so they would nail him at 2. But the guy was so fast, and the throw was obviously inside the bag, so it wasn't a perfect throw. But that's the sort of hustle that these Yankee teams have. It's amazing, off the plane on Friday and stealing on Monday.
Brad Burrup still in the batter's box. 2 outs and a runner in scoring position on second.
Now this is a threat here. This guy is a great batter, a great world-class batter. He is really good.
Second base has Mark Burrup on second base, the man they call Mirror Eyes at the moment. There he is. Those sunglasses he's wearing have got the mirrored effect.
Yeah, there's got to be a rule against that, but I guess they haven't found it in the book yet.
2 strikes on Brad Burrup, 2 outs.
Strike out.
Oh, good pitch.
Struck him out with a fine pitch from Chubb Tangaroa to make it no score in their first turn at bat. This Salt Lake City team from Utah, and 1 runner on the bases, and there's the dropping delivery, Marshall, that deserved the strikeout that it got.
He's humming. You know, we used to make a lot of jokes about the way he started softball games, but no more. If he keeps humming the way he is, he's going to be at the World Series, no doubt about it. Chubb's on top.
Well, batting last in each innings will be New Zealand. They have managed to get the Americans out in that first turn at bat, but not without its moment of drama. And as we look at the New Zealand batting order, it'll go Fred Wyatt, Eddie Kalassi, Max Elliott, then through to Murray McLean, Michael Nichols, Jimmy Hall, Dave Workman, John Nightingale, and Carl Gould. So it's a batting team that has the potential to put the ball over the fence.
1 more, please.
Even though the fence is back quite a way. So we'll watch with interest the pitching of Terry Stapely for the Americans. Stapely, who has been to this country before, back some several years ago. Fred Wyatt first up for New Zealand. And a man who has really come from pretty well nowhere in the past couple of seasons to now be regarded as one of the better players around. He plays at left outfield for New Zealand, comes from Wellington, plays for the Miramar Club in Wellington, and a player who, as I say, has a growing reputation in the game, playing for the world champions New Zealand at the moment. Stapely moves to throw the first pitch.
Strike!
Strike 1. Wyatt absolutely disinterested in that first delivery as he settles himself in.
Well, actually, he's got a nickname of Fearless, as Fred. He's only 19, but he's a class act. He does everything smoothly. He's a good outfielder and a very sound batter. In fact, if you watch him, he's John Lowe's sort of shadow. He's learned a heck of a lot of softball. There'll be an out. Good run down 1, but that shortstop is very, very fast.
Now this man at shortstop for the American team, his name's Lance Pratt, and he really can fire the ball. As you see, look at him collected in. He lands in a position to throw, very nicely positioned, and really gets the ball across the diamond in double quick time. Eddie Kalassi next in for New Zealand, and one of the more composed players on the New Zealand softball scene. Nothing seems to faze him too much.
Ball.
Ball 1.
Actually, that's the way he plays all of his sport, I've heard. He's the same at center. You know, everything is very meticulous. And,
Strike!
Called a strike for ball 1, strike 1 on Eddie Kalassi. Wears spectacles now and has for the past couple of years while playing, and that used to be unheard of, Marshall, but now it's quite a regular occurrence.
Well, also, he spent the off-season in Albuquerque. There's a shot into right field, and it's an easy out. But if we can have a look at Eddie on his way back, he's got a mow under his nose. He said he was in Albuquerque, and everyone else had one, so I grew one. His family have sort of mixed feelings about it, but
Eric wouldn't like it.
Eric wouldn't like it.
Have a look at it again as it sails out into right field territory, and underneath it is Dean Prescott. All the time in the world, gloves it well, makes it 2 out. In the batter's box, Max Elliott scuffs one out to shortstop, and kicking it up as Lance Pratt to take the third out. And that's some good play by this Salt Lake City team. And my word, they're looking as though they're very much on top of things. And Larry Miller Toyota is the handle they carry, and carrying it pretty well. And they bring with them also a message from America, which they carry on the back of their shirt. More about that a little later. One innings completed, no score between New Zealand and Miller Toyota.
Well, this is not the same team that was here on Sunday. As I said, that battle between ego and paranoia. The ego is winning out at the moment, and these guys are playing very sound softball. New Zealand should hit their guy on the mound, but as we saw in the first innings there, they didn't have anybody on, and there's no reason why this won't be a good game of softball. Now, a good game of softball is a low-scoring one. You know, if it's sort of 6-4, it's usually a very bad game of softball. So they're both world-class, and we should see a tight game.
Marshall, make your first prediction for 88. Who's going to win and by what score?
Okay, I'd say New Zealand will win by a score of 3-1.
3-1. Write that in your little notebook and see how he scrubs up 6 innings from now. Marshall Seifert, a man who's never scared of making a prediction, and he's never been wrong for love nor money. Into the top half of the second innings, the first batter in for the Americans will be Ross Caputo, and here's a character if ever you've seen one.
Oh, he's beautiful, this guy. He's just solid sportsman. There is Ross. Yep. He's a class act, this fella. He's got lovely soft hands when he fields and a wonderful sort of wristy action on the bat. He's also a character, as you see with his gear there and everything. He's there to play good softball, but he doesn't mind entertaining as well.
Ball 2 watches the first 2 go by from Chubb Tangaroa, who just has a little bit of a problem settling into his pitching on the spot. That's a bad pitch.
Look at those wrists. He stands there and he looks so relaxed, and then all of a sudden those wrists go into action there, and it's such a whip action that he gets on the ball. He was their league sort of batting champ, something like 6 or 7 times. He's really good.
Bit of trouble here for Chubb Tangaroa with the count of ball 3, strike 1. And pitching against this man with arms like tree trunks is Chubb Tangaroa, who settles in knowing he has to throw a strike. Nope. Misses out, Chubb, so that's not a good start to the second innings for him to give a base on balls. 4 balls thrown to Ross Caputo, who will not be into hitting at any rubbish. And here's this last pitch, which was nowhere near the strike zone. Oh, that's a bouncer.
Now, that's surprising, because Chubb has not thrown walks over this last week. So, I don't know, this is a pressure game, but I'm surprised to see that walk. I'm also very surprised that there isn't a runner on. Ross, you know, he can't be the fastest guy in the world, can he?
Not with a build like that. Johnny Jones is the new batter for the Americans.
Now, he is fast. John Jones is very, very fast, so expect to see a bunt here, and they'll have a hard time sort of nailing him at 1.
John Jones against Chubb Tangaroa with a runner on first. There are no outs. Whoops.
Oh, now that's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. Gould threw the ball way too high at second base, and that's got to be the stockiest man to ever steal against New Zealand, I think. Here's the missed bunt. There goes Caputo, shakes the earth as he goes down. In fact, he would have bowled him. He would have bowled the shortstop.
A pretty nifty little jump that we saw here from John Nightingale to get above him. Right, a runner in scoring position for the Americans as Tangaroa pitches to Jones. Good bunt, good bunt. Just gets it. Nicely picked up by... Oh, got a double play. That is grand play by New Zealand. Now, what action they had to get going there, because it was picked up at first base by Max Elliott. He turned and had to throw it to Kalassi at second. This is how he did it. Elliott picks it up. has a look at third, gets it across to Elliott. Meanwhile, John Nightingale has come round from shortstop to tag the rather slow man, and the runner was Ross Caputo, who was also out. So 2 outs, and Marshall, very nicely done. Let's have another look.
Okay, here he comes. Look at this man move. This is really entertaining. He's going fast. Good tough slide, slid right in, but the bag was blocked. Good softball. Right, bad throw to start it off by Carl Gould, and then the rest of the boys had cleaned it up. But what was interesting also on that replay was that as Jones went down to 1, I think he attempted a hit on Kalassi as he was throwing the ball. I mean, that's how fierce these guys are playing this game. In other words, he saw that there could be a double play on 3, and I think Jones had just reached up and had given Eddie a little nudge as he's going through.
Gary Cleverly, the batter, with a big swing. Strike 2.
But you can see at home what I mean. These guys, yesterday, we'd gone through them like a dose of salts, but no more. They're here to play now.
High and inside. So the New Zealand team will be breathing just a little more easily out there at the moment, knowing that they have got themselves out of what was really a potential hole with perhaps 2 runners going to be on the bases, but a lovely double play, and they executed it to perfection. A change of bats, is it, coming up? Timeout called as he changes bats or gets a new batting glove. Yeah. What is he doing, Marshall? But
wasn't that amazing how they allowed that guy to steal, and then he attempted to steal a third? I mean, he's got to be fast, or they wouldn't have sent him. Also, he was badly hurt in the first game here yesterday, and he was out and had ice on his chest, and I wasn't even sure if he was going to play. I told him that guy has to play, even if you stand a guy beside him to hold him up. You know, he's so entertaining, Caputo.
Another walk issued by Chubb Tangaroa. So there's this rather faulty start that we have seen from Tangaroa, and we've said before, but I'll say it again, that it seems that Tangaroa needs to go out 1 hour before everyone else and wind his arm round 100 times, because he is a notorious bad starter. How will he go now? Strike, and a fine pitch to Dean Prescott. Strike 1.
Well, I know he had a migraine here the other day, Chubb, and in fact on the day that he had the migraine, he had won the Rothmans Cup. But I still expect him to strike these guys out. He's in great form, but as you say, he's walked 2, and
he'll fire up. Have no doubts about that. Tangaroa to Prescott. Running bunt from Prescott, and this American team flush with left-handed batters. There are, I think, only 1 or 2 right-handers in the side. We'll see how Tangaroa can handle this, because right-handed pitchers don't really envy pitching to left-handed batters too much. They'd prefer the righties. Tangaroa to Prescott.
Well, it's a real advantage if you're in there left-handed. I mean, it's a meter plus head start to first base, so that's why all but a lot of these guys actually bat right-handed, but have changed their style because they know it gives them such an advantage. Chubb is not blowing a by in here by any means.
Ball 3, strike 2, that's the full count. It's the suicide position for pitchers, and especially with a runner on base, because the batter can expect with some certainty that the ball will come through the strike zone.
And I could expect to see a steal here as well. All these guys can run, even the big ones. An error! An error! An error! Oh, wow! I'd like to see the replay on that. But the ball was dropped at third base by Workman, but he's got some arm, Workman. He grabbed it, and according to the umpire, he nailed him in 1, but boy, that must have been close, Gary.
Okay, we'll have another look at it, but have a look at the way the stretching Max Elliott collects the throw that comes from Workman. Here's Workman. He's out of shot there, but he picks it up, drops it, picks it up again. There's the big stretch. Look at that. Max Elliott is a long way out to get the ball. So New Zealand out of a bit of a hole, and 2 innings have been completed for the Americans. New Zealand go into their second turn at bat, but there's no score between this New Zealand team and the Americans, playing under the name of Miller Toyota from the USA. They come from Salt Lake City in the state of Utah.
Okay, well, what a surprise. As I say, New Zealand went through these guys just like a hot knife there yesterday, but as we said, there was a really excellent game, which we won't speak about because it's playing after this, but these Yanks are here to play today, and they've got us in all sorts of trouble.
A bit of a tribute to this New Zealand team's versatility. Here's Murray McLean up the bat, who's playing in right outfield today, Marshall, and Max Elliott on first base. So that's a bit of a switch about.
Wow, that's really surprising because he's our first bag, and he'll be there in the World Series. He's our best batter in New Zealand at the moment is Murray, so I guess they want to have a little variety.
Murray McLean up to bat. We're in the bottom of the second.
And Caputo goes down the third base line there just for fun or just to stay in practice. He whips the ball over to first base, and that's about as deep as you can go and throw the ball off your feet. He's a class act, that fella.
Well, we talk about versatility, and they have it in their team too, because we had Caputo playing at first base in the previous game, and now he's switched over to third.
Strike!
Ball to strike against Murray McLean.
Baby, Kerry. Nice and easy now,
Murray McLean ready again. First batter for New Zealand in the second innings. Ball inside, nicely looked over by McLean.
Okay, I can see a hit happening here, Gary. Murray is really in form at the moment. I call him our crow with eyes like a hawk. Yeah, that's a hit. Nope. Caught. Out. Just a simple, easy wrist flick by McLean, and it goes almost back to the fence. Great catch here by Dean Prescott. Going back, says, thank you very much. That's not the way to catch the ball, kids, but he made it look easy. But good hit by McLean.
We talk about the action that's in potential here, and with Michael Nichols in the batter's box, here's a man who can really clout the ball when the occasion demands, and that occasion is in demand right now with the game scoreless at 0-0.
Mike Nichols, another international. He often is overseas on Yank teams. He's respected all over the world now. He's a real world-class batter. And he looks so calm in there. Everything he does is just so studied and relaxed. But it's just, he coils like a spring.
Strike! Two.
Michael Nichols settles in with the call ball 2, strike 2. The bottom half of the second innings and 1 out.
Nice and easy.
Game goes into a little bit of a lull.
Good out. Now that's the way to play your shortstop. He's a baseball scholarship guy at the moment at college in Utah, and watch the way he actually misses the ball with his glove here, but he's got his body right in front of it. It just bounces over his glove, into his chest, down into his hands, and an easy out. Excellent play.
No strikeouts have yet been recorded by Terry Stapely. Ball inside, ball 1.
Now here's a little power pack, and he's hit it. Oh, another good out. Geez, looking good, that shortstop. I thought that was through, Gary, didn't you?
Well, it looked as though it could have been, but nice fielding over at shortstop by Lance Pratt. It retires New Zealand's second turn at bat, and it is 0-0, and this is how he picked it up. Have a look at Pratt. He gloves the ball nicely, whips it over. End of the second innings, 0-0.
It's a New Year revolution. Bernina's 3-day sale of the year. Save $1,000. Yes, $1,000 on the fully electronic Bernina 1130. Save $500 on the 1120 electronic, $400 on the 1030, $300 on this 1020, $200 on the 440, and this overlocker. Save dollars on the Burnett 420 and the Superba ironing press. Plus there's 15% off all other items. It's the revolutionary sale of the year. Save $1,000 or more at your Bernina Sewing Centre right now.
Top of the third innings coming up with New Zealand scoreless, as is the American team. A reminder that we'll be bringing you about 45 minutes of the highlights of that grand game being played over at the Wacker yesterday in the day-night game, and what a finale that game brought, and the Australian innings coming to an end in the most dramatic of fashions.
I was up half the night. How about you, mate?
Well, I watched a bit of it. First batter for the Americans will be Lance Pratt, their shortstop, the man who featured so prominently in the last innings we saw here. He is at bat, yet another left-hander, facing the pitching of Chubb Tangaroa, number 12.
Good. You'll get him just out. Boy, that was quick. Those guys motored down there. Now, that was a tough call.
It's a tough call, all right. I'll be surprised. I'll be interested to see the replay and be surprised to see if they didn't both arrive at the same time. There's the pickup. Picks it up nicely.
Oh, it really looked like he was safe. Let's see it again. Look, now, he's got a couple of meters head start on the ball. This is beautiful running here. Here's the throw from Nightingale over to 1. Watch and see if the ball hits before the foot. He is safe. They say tie goes to the runner. I call him safe.
The new batter in is top of the order man, Randy Ward, for this Miller Toyota team from the United States of America, rated very highly on the club scene over there. And club softball in America is the be-all and end-all of the game.
Might be the be-all, but it's not the end-all. We're the world champs.
Randy Ward, who has been at bat once for a strikeout, so no hits from one turn at bat. Facing Tangaroa.
When I say that, softball is the largest outdoor game in America. More Americans play softball than any other game. Indoor bowls is the largest sort of sport as such over there. But as far as outdoor, more people play softball than any other game. So they think that they should have the world champs just by right, by sheer depth of talent.
Well, interesting that there are 40,000 softballers active in the game in New Zealand, Marshall, and for a country of this size, that's one awful lot of softballers.
Well, and that's without the schools, and I think it's only sort of 6 schools now that refuse to play the game of softball because it's not really the dumb thing, you know, what. But it's only down to 6 schools at the moment, so if you add in all the thousands of kids, incidentally, I expect a lot more respect at the moment, Ward, because I'm back to coaching again. I am assistant. Oh, there's a good hit down to short. Nailed him, though. Yeah, I'll have you know, Gary, that I'm assistant coach for the Ellis Park under-13 girls team at the moment.
Saw me in half. Here's the replay from that out off the bat of Randy Ward. Zips it over to shortstop for New Zealand, John Nightingale, who in turn gets it to Max Elliott. 2 out. Mark Burrup up to bat now, and here's a man who can get bat to ball. He was on base safely in the first innings, so 1 safe hit from 1 turn at bat for Burrup. That's Mark Burrup.
No.
As opposed to his brother Brad, who is also featuring in this game. This is the man who wears the mirrored shades.
Yeah, there's got to be a rule against that. I mean, what about the glare, or something's wrong with the fact you can't sort of see a guy's eyes, too. You know, how did it feel with you out there? Did you know that you had a guy by the look in his eyes?
Ball.
High and inside, ball 1.
Actually, you know, sport is getting so sort of complicated now that the MD on this squad at the moment was explaining that overseas now they can implant something in you so that the coach can look at a computer and know if you're getting uptight, knowing if your heart rate is increasing. So he can sort of sit by a machine and know if you're getting nervous.
Well, he doesn't look too nervous, does Mark Burrup at the moment. He looks rather composed, probably with the confidence of knowing that he was on base safely last time round.
Ball 4.
Ball 4, and he's done it again.
Chubb. I don't think he's thrown 3 walks all week at the Nationals here, and he's thrown 3 in this game.
Here's the pitch that got the safety of first base for Burrup, and he let it go quite sensibly. It never looked like being a strike. He's safe on first. Gordon Eakin steps to the plate, and a worried man is Chubb Tangaroa, and can't you see it in his face? 2 outs. Top half of the third innings. Steal! Whoa, well, he came off very quickly, did Mark Burrup. He bolted off first base.
And they were sure of a steal. That's why he'd gone high, because they were going to nail the guy at 2. So they were sure he was going to steal, and they wasted the pitch. He didn't go. And Gordon Eakin had a sacrifice swing at it to try and assist in putting off the catcher, which didn't work, of course. Here's the steal this time. Safe. Good steal then. The ball was thrown very well this time by Gould. He really had him nailed, but the guy slid to the outside of the bag. As we'll see here, watch his slide. He goes completely to the outside of the bag. The ball nails him. It's right on the button. Here comes the throw right there, but slides out and around the bag.
He just left nothing to tag, did Mark Burrup, with that steal of his. He was right on the ground, and he had a little finger exposed to tag, and that just wasn't enough for Nightingale to put the wood on him.
Strike!
Well, all these years, Gary, I've been saying that our base stealing and our bunting. What's the story now?
Well, stand-up strikeout, because the umpire said he did offer a swing at it. Certainly, Burrup doesn't think he did. Even Eakin, let's get it right, didn't think he offered a swing at all. But nevertheless, it racks up strikeout number 4 for Chubb Tangaroa. And let's have a look. What did you think?
Well, it was high. I wouldn't have called it a strike. And he stood there and he eyeballed the referee like we saw it about sort of 9 o'clock last night or something like that with Martin Crowe. He was sure the ball was high. I've got to say this, that the Yanks haven't had the advantage of close calls in this game, and they'll be aware of that. Usually, Gary, our umps seem to bend over backwards for Yankee teams, but the close calls today, I've got to say, have all gone New Zealand's way.
Dave Workman will be the first batter for New Zealand in their third turn at bat as we move into the bottom half of this third innings in a scoreless game, and the game is tight as all get out. All the action so far has really been supplied by the Americans. So far they have had 1, 2, 3, 4 runners on the bases without being able to capitalize on those opportunities to put a run on the board. But good play by New Zealand to keep them out. I guess you have to give them full credit, but nevertheless, the running of the game has been particularly in the feet of the Americans.
Workman into bat now. One of the softballers out of Levin. Both he and Chubb were at the same high school in Levin, which is a breeding sort of ground at the moment for top softballers. This is a very good player. I'm expecting that we'll score about now.
Bottom half of the third innings, pitching for the Americans is that man there, Terry Stapely. Oh, yeah, nicely hit. Will he get there? Yes, he does. Oh, and the ball's down the fence. They might get him at second. Good running and well played by Dave Workman, who really put some work on the ball as it went down to third base. He was across to first in a flash, so too was the throw, but it was wide, as we will see, and then turning the corner and running to second base. Marshall, that's good play.
But Pratt, I feel sorry for the shortstop. He did everything right. He got down, blocked the ball. It was skidding off the surface here, blocked it with his chest. Then he had got up and made a wild attempt at a throw to one, but good running by Workman. He stretched that into a two-base hit. Now we should score here, maybe even a sacrifice to move him down to 3. Yeah, here we see it. Good, good, good. He looks at him. He'll go. Workman's safe. Good running. Now, this is world-class stuff by New Zealand here. Very good bunt then. And Nightingale, he lays down a very good sacrifice bunt. This is where we've been weak. There's Caputo, looks at him, knows he's got to get the out at 1. Good lead then, off 2 by Workman. Now 1 down, Gould into bat, and man on 3.
Carl Gould with only 1 out, with the pressure on him to get this runner home. Dave Workman on third. Ball 1. Now, Carl Gould has the ability to move the ball. You can say of this New Zealand team that they really have the abilities to bat right down through the order, right through to number 9. Ball 1, strike 1. Nice. Still only 1 out, and so the pressure right on this American team at the moment.
He's staying inside on Gould. It's almost as if he's got the book on him. Stapely is pitching right to the glove at the moment. There's a good hit. He'll score. He'll score. They got to take the other one. It's a wild throw. It's an error. There goes Gould. They'll get him at 2. No, he's called safe. The Yanks are really angry now. That's enough close calls going New Zealand way, and here they come. The Americans really thought, oh, wait a minute, he's been called out now. No, he hasn't. The ump called him safe. He was right there, but the Americans are getting dirty on it. But I've got to say, all of the close ones have gone our way. But a clutch hit. There's Gould, who has not been informed. New Zealand captain. And the ump says he was safe. There's Carl Gould. Now, he hasn't been informed, but he's advising the coach that he's all set for the World Series.
Up to the top of the order with Freddie Wyatt up to bat. Still only 1 out. New Zealand on the board with their 1 run. And Fred Wyatt, who was taken in the infield in his last time at bat. So he's been 1 trip to the plate for no hits yet. But here he is with a runner on second and Carl Gould ready to face the pitching of Terry Stapely inside ball 1.
Now, let's see the mettle of these Yanks now. They played very badly on Sunday. They played very well all day here. But now they're behind. And let's see just how they react to it, because New Zealand, believe me, can bat. Every guy who goes in there is a world-class batter at the moment. So New Zealand should get another run out of this inning.
Fred Wyatt.
Heads up now.
Fred Wyatt.
There's a good hit.
Oh, yeah, that's into center field. The catch is taken. Can Gould get the 3? Yes, he'll go there standing up if he likes.
Well, that's what I mean. All of these guys can bat. They're like coiled springs. Here's Wyatt, a little battleship from Miramar, just strokes the ball into deep center. Good one-handed catch, turns, and he's in. He could have been standing up at third base. Okay, now it's Kalassi in the bat, man on 2 and 2 down.
Ball!
Oh, high. Not a bad-looking pitch from Stapely, high and inside. A runner on third base for New Zealand, and that's Carl Gould. Meanwhile, Eddie Kalassi is the man in the batter's box at the moment. Oh, that's a big one! Oh, look at that!
That would have been a home run in any park in the world. You could have hit that out of La Scala in Rome. Or Milan. What a hit from Eddie Kalassi. He just said, bye-bye, baby. You better bring in a new ball, because I just broke that one.
What a hit from the bat of Eddie Kalassi. And look at the swing from him. Right on the meat of the bat, and that looked like home run material. It just kept going out and out. That's 240 feet where the fence is. It goes onto the roof of that van, which is another 20 feet away. That's a home run anywhere in the world. And it puts New Zealand into a 3-run lead. Well done for New Zealand, and especially well done by Eddie Kalassi. What a hit.
Good job, Steve.
Yeah, we've got another very sort of interesting event here, because this is Max Elliott, who's the first Yank to ever wear the fern. Now, he's got a New Zealand wife at the moment, and I think he's been here for 5 years. So, as I've always said, a Yank is a guy who hops off a plane and he gets a free car and a cigar, and he's here for 6 months and gone. So, Max is fair dinkum as far as I'm concerned. And in his first at bat there yesterday, the first Yank to wear the fern had a home run. So, Max, welcome aboard, mate.
Absolutely. Oh, nearly hit by that one. Almost hit by a wild pitch from Terry Stapely. And the crowd buzzed after that home run.
Come on now, get it up.
And Eddie Kalassi, who hasn't been in the greatest form with the bat, but suddenly bursts it over the fence. Elliott tries to choke his swing back, but there's no choking back of that according to the umpire. Ball 3, strike 2. Elliott pops it foul. Max Elliott ready again in the left-hander's batter's box.
Actually, if you are a softball fan, and you would have seen Max over the years playing on the side of PK, and if he looks a bit sort of different, it's because he said, my wife has cleaned up my act. He used to have a mow that hung down under his chin, real Zapata job, and hair to match, and he really looked a real sight. But he said his wife has cleaned up his act completely, and Max looked like you'd invite him to tea there with the Governor General.
Well, here we have Max Elliott in discussion with, with Michael Walsh, the New Zealand coach, who has a bit of a powwow with him over there, and there might have been the opportunity for a pinch runner to be put in, but no, they're leaving Elliott there, and probably a bit of an instruction as to what Murray McLean will do, who flied out with a deep hit to right outfield last time round, and on that occasion we saw going back a long way Dean Prescott to take the catch. How will he go now against Terry Stapely?
Strike one.
Strike one. Elliott safe on first. There are 2 outs. We're in the bottom half of the 3rd innings, and what a dramatic innings this has been for New Zealand. Stapely again.
Strike two.
2 strikes and 2 outs. And still hungry for a little more scoring action is this New Zealand team.
Yeah, I think we'll see a steal here, and if it's a strike, McLean's gonna hit it. Yeah, there it goes. It's a live shot straight into center field. If we look good, ladies and gentlemen, it's simply because we are.
Time.
We don't have the world sort of championship. You know, there's very good reason for it, as we'll see with this hit of Murray McLean. This is world-class stuff. Beautiful body action, sees the ball a mile away, just strokes it into center field.
Meanwhile, holding up on second base is the other New Zealander who's on the base is Max Elliott, and so a conference goes into the American camp. Now the 2 runners we have on the bases, we have Murray McLean out there, also Max Elliott out there on respectively 3rd and 2nd bases. Oh, Kerry Johansson in there with that hit. Oh, sorry for not catching up with that quickly. He's out there as a pinch runner. So Kerry Johansson, who's one of the quicker runners around, is now on second base.
Okay, the Yanks really need an out here. Called a strike. They really need an out. They're down by 3, but they know they are playing well at the moment. They know they can move the ball, but if it goes more than 3, they'll be just about impossible to peg New Zealand back. They need an out. That's strike 2.
Mike Nichols into the batter's box, and Nichols also, as we've said before, capable of hitting the ball in a pretty convincing fashion. And runners on first base and second base, and New Zealand enjoying this 3-run lead. Ooh, pretty fiery in the infield still, this American team, prepared to have a go at anyone who strays off the bases too far. And Murray McLean was off first just a little bit. 2 outs. They went for the runner at first base that time. Ball, and Nichols not tempted at all to get into any pitch that's not right on the button.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 on. Full screen, skate. Good catch. Ball.
Good
Ball
eye.
again. Didn't look too bad from here, Marshall,
No.
because that could have been pretty close to that strike zone. Ball
Well,
3, strike 2.
He's got a very good eye, and that was a strike he would have swung.
Like you can now.
They need a strikeout here just to get their adrenaline back. They need a strikeout. Good stop. Good stop.
That man at shortstop, that Lance Pratt, he really does cover the territory. And just about any other shortstop in the world would have had it go through to left outfield, but watch the dive from Pratt. Just watch him.
Yeah.
And then looks up to see if there's an out anywhere.
Yeah, that's right. He's got very soft hands. The ball just seems to go into his glove, and he's very good balance at the moment. He definitely saved a run there, but these guys are in big trouble now because here comes the battleship. Here's Hall with bases loaded.
And the 9th batter of the innings.
I would not want to be Stapely at the moment.
Ball.
Ball a bit high.
And he's questioning the call of the umpire there. You know, this is... Okay, and here's Hall, one of the sort of top 5 at the National. He's just a battleship of a batter.
Ball 1, strike 1. Stapely not too happy with the umpire's calls out there. The umpire up plate is Ed Isaac, and there was a shrug of frustration from Terry Stapely a moment ago. Loaded bases, 2 out. Inside, ball 2, strike 1.
Ed Isaacs, he didn't have the happiest of nationals, but he's in there with the job to do at the moment. But Stapely really needs a strikeout.
Oh, he bobbles it.
Oh, right, he got it. Whoop, that's what I mean about class. That ball is really skidding off the surface out there at the moment. But Pratt, he doesn't leave anything to chance. He gets his body in front. This was a real line shot right along the ground. He gets his body in front, drops the ball, picks it up, wrist action, nails it.
3-0 to New Zealand, and Brendan Telfer ready to have a talk with someone over there at third base.
Well, thank you, Gary. With me I have Dave Sorensen, former captain of the New Zealand softball team, of one of the great New Zealand softball teams back in the mid-1970s. Dave, I guess if you were in Mike Walsh's shoes at the moment, you'd have to be very happy, particularly with the performance of the New Zealand batting lineup in that third innings.
Yes, that's for sure, Brendan. For years, one of the problems in New Zealand has been the lack of depth in the batting, but I think we're starting to show it now that that depth has come right through, and New Zealand had a really good third innings, and I would pick that they would carry on a little more than that as well.
It really was a bit of a surprise seeing that big clout from Karasi, because he really hasn't been in sensational form over the last week, has he?
No, well, Eddie had a bit of a lean time at the National Provincial Championships, but being the fine player that he is, he's bounced back, and that hit would do his confidence the world of good. But having said that, I would say that this Larry Miller side, if they have a weakness, it's their lack of depth in their pitching.
Do you think that we're likely to see Brendan Keane come onto the pitching mound in the next innings for the Americans?
Well, I don't think they'll allow New Zealand to score too many more runs, and Brendan Keane had a great game in the last game against the second New Zealand side, and we New Zealanders rate Brendan pretty highly.
Okay, Dave Sorensen, thank you very much.
Back to the fourth innings now. It's the top half of the fourth innings, and the Americans chasing a 3-run deficit now, and they have the job in front of them, believe me, because Chubb Tangaroa will no doubt lift his game now, Marshall.
The Yanks need a run, and it wouldn't surprise me if they had got one, actually. They are moving the ball around. This is the danger man in there to bat at the moment. This is Bird Legs himself, supposedly the world's best catcher. And it wouldn't surprise me if they got a run back. They really need one.
Strike 2 now on Brad Burrup, the first of the batters in this fourth innings. And Marshall Seifert's prediction of a 3-1 result right early in the game means that New Zealand can't score anymore. But we better see Burrup put them in some action to get the 1 run that he predicted for the Americans.
1 and 2.
Ball 1, strike 2. He comes here with some reputation, does Brad Burrup. Not just as a fast runner.
Foul.
Well, of course, with Chubb, as we've always said, you get him sort of past the third inning and he might just be the best in the world. And he's been striking our best out all week. I mean, he really has been the outstanding guy here. He had an earned run average of 0. In other words, for the entire week, he didn't give up 1 earned run. Now, you can't do any better than that. So it's past the third for Chubb now. And if he's on his usual form, it's downhill all the way.
Brad Burrup hanging in there against Chubb Tangaroa. 1 ball, 2 strikes the call. Ball outside for ball 2, strike 2.
Come on now, make it count. Come on.
2 and 2.
Foul.
Wow, he certainly is hanging in there, isn't he, Gary? He's got his eye in.
Well, he's been there now for some 6 or 7 pitches, and everything he's swung at, he's managed to get the bat to. And there you see a face full of concentration from Brad Burrup.
Well, in the States at the moment, he is #1 in his position of catcher.
Ball.
Good eye.
Yeah, sure was a good eye. Let that one go with 2 strikes on you, and it was very hittable. It was a down low out of the strike zone, but a lot of players would have had a ping at that one, but not Brad Burrup.
I actually haven't had nerve enough to. There's a line shot, and it's bobbled, and he is safe. Well, that poor Max Elliott. Okay, you got this guy thundering down on you there. You don't have a clue where the ball is going. Look at this. The ball gets hit down to 1. It bounces off Max, and he is looking everywhere. He's opening every drawer, every door. Where the heck can't find my socks?
Well, what do you say? Let's have another look at it from another angle, because it could be that Max Elliott did gain possession of the ball and in control of it right at the last moment.
But I don't think his foot's on the bag. He gets the ball, but, oh, pretty close. Anyway, it's good to see the Yanks get a close call finally.
First one they've had in this game. Brad Burrup safe on first. It brings to bat Ross Caputo.
Here comes Tiger now. He won't go down easy. He wants to bunt, and he does perfectly. He got no out at 2. That was a perfect bunt. In fact, he had held the bat so far up that he only allowed sort of 6 inches of bat. Watch this. He goes right up the bat. Oh, a little bit more than that, but he knew exactly where that ball was going. Perfection bunt. No play at 2. The perfect sacrifice bunt.
Makes it 1 out. 1 runner on second base for the Americans, and that's Brad Burrup. And John Jones steps into the batter's box. No hits from 1 turn at bat.
And he's fast again. Expect a slap hit here. Oh, he's going for the big one.
Well, I guess they've got to chase them, Marshall.
Yeah, they do. They need that 1 run back. They need to score the guy at 2.
Yep.
Okay, we'll see a big lead at 2 at the moment. He knows that they really need 1 run back.
Strike.
He's chasing it.
2.
I think he's going to K him, though.
Bit of a conference here between Chubb Tangaroa and Carl Gould as they confer. Meanwhile, on second base, the man in the box at the top right-hand picture of your screen is Brad Burrup. And won't he be impatient, because he's a real competitor, that man. After this one, they'll be running out of scoring opportunities, because the next will be their 5th turn at bat. Tangaroa ready.
Good Jewel.
Strike.
He had his number. That was high and inside, and the guy swung right down the middle. He missed that by about a foot. Chubb fooled him completely on that rise ball. Good out.
5th strikeout of the game for Chubb Tangaroa, who has moved from Canterbury to Manawatu and now to Auckland, chasing a place in the New Zealand team and gaining it very much on the abilities he has displayed in the week past here in Auckland, where Auckland took the national title and deserved to as well. Gary Cleverly up to bat.
Now, he's not wearing his shades at the moment. I wonder if someone had a word to him there. Okay, here we go. Yanks need a hit, and that'll be an out, but Eddie has to hurry. Good out. He had to charge that. That's not easy. I think he got a good bounce on it, though.
Eddie Kalassi having to gather it in a bit of a hurry, because the ball took quite some time to get to him. You can see it bouncing along, and meanwhile, Cleverly's getting along to first base with a bit of speed on his side. But Kalassi very equal to it all. He's been in that situation many times. New Zealand 3, Miller Toyota 0. We have completed 4 innings.
Okay, well, in a way, that's a shame, really, because I think if the Yanks had got 1 back, they would have really been a lot more relaxed about going into this inning. Now it's going to be a shooting gallery again.
At 4:45 tonight, you'll have the last 3/4 of an hour of the cricket, of the Australian innings from the Wacker ground in Perth, and that sensational finish, which you've no doubt all heard about, but never fear, we'll be bringing that to you at 4:45 this afternoon, showing you the magnificence of the New Zealand cricket effort against the batting effort from the Australians.
And it's worth seeing, folks. I know I was up, and the sort of gesture that we see off Bracewell to a certain stand at the end of the game is worth watching.
Dave Workman, the first batter in for New Zealand's 4th turn at bat. We're in the bottom of the 4th. 3-0 New Zealand.
Strike one. Every time. Good pitch. Full string now. Nice now.
Strike two.
Strike two against Workman.
Now, if you recall the end of the Nationals there a year ago, this was the guy who hit the ball over the left field fence. Sure. Now, something happened there. I think the ball had gone off his chest. I think that hurt the catcher.
Yeah. Exaggerated now, Steve.
Workman looks dangerous. In fact, they all do.
1-2.
It's a long day for Stapely out there in the mound because every guy who walks into that box is a batter.
Strike out.
Workman strikes out. Now, the first time up there, he got on base with an error, but here's a good strikeout pitch from the swinging arm of Terry Stapely. Let's have a look how he got it. Oh, he's underneath it as Workman. That's the strikeout.
Yeah, he was expecting the drop. It's staying up. That's what the Yanks need. A few more strikeouts and maybe they'll get rolling again.
John Nightingale, the second batter of the innings, chokes back his swing, ball one.
Nice and easy, back with the better one now. Pull a screen out there, you stay.
That's another good pitch from Stapely. He's starting to fire up a little now.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? Because these guys are good batters, and he's blowing it by him. I don't know if he'll strike Nightingale out there. Nope.
Bounces it out. Nicely picked up again and relayed over the diamond by Lance Pratt to make the second out of the innings. And doesn't he do it so nicely? Have a look at the way he picks this up.
It's been a Pratt special today. I mean, every now and then at shortstop, you just feel as if the ball is following you around, and it happens, and after a while, it's very easy to make an error, just out of sheer volume. But with Pratt, it's still going well.
Strike one.
Nothing good now. Ball.
Ball.
Actually, it's worth sort of saying, Gary, that New Zealand hasn't got a lot of left-handed guys to bat, and that's a weakness of our team. It's one of the strengths of their team. So if you are young, and even if you throw right-handed, if you're really keen, have a go at batting left-handed, because we need you in the national team.
Ball two, strike one, and Stapely again unhappy with that call. Ball three, strike one. Stapely slaps the ball into his glove when it comes back to him. He registers his disgust at the call from umpire Isaac.
Ball.
Ball four.
He's not a happy man. He's giving him the eyeball. He's a large man.
Runner on first. It brings to bat the top of the order for New Zealand, Fred Wyatt. Number 23, no hits from 2 turns at bat. Taken once in the infield, once in the outfield. He's a big man, as Terry Stapely, weighing in at 220 pounds.
It's a good hit.
Oh, that's a lucky hit, but it's there. Well, what a grand hit that was. Very much a lob hit. Sort of a tennis drop shot from the bat of Fred Wyatt into shallow right field territory.
Well, I think it's a John Lowe's hit. I think he means to do this. Yeah, he does. Just angle the bat down, guide her over. Over slips. How about that? Good stuff.
Carl Gould on second base. On first base is Fred Wyatt. There are 2 outs.
Look who's up. Well, folks, if you have a car that's parked in the outfield there, I'd move it at the moment.
Eddie Gillespie. Easy out it should be. Stapely gets it over. And there it is, the end of 4 innings for both New Zealand and the Americans. New Zealand leading by the 3 runs to 0, and getting out of a bit of a hole is Stapely. So New Zealand leading by 3 runs to 0. We have completed 4 innings.
The Corning Glassworks has built an enviable international reputation with quality cookware like Pyrex and Corningware. Here's an example.
These are new Pyrex measure-ups. They feel good and can measure, mix, pour and cook in the oven or microwave. They're practical with 1,001 uses. Pyrex measure-ups, the all-in-one utility dish.
Pyrex measure-ups. There's only one Pyrex. Insist on it by name.
In the perfect conditions here at Northcote at Albany, we have a 3-0 ball game with New Zealand going into the top half of the 5th innings, and the runs came in a flurry of action, and indeed it was a flurry in the 3rd innings. The runs being scored by, first of all, Dave Workman, and then that massive home run from Eddie Kalassi, which also scored Carl Gould, with the ball clearing the outfield by what must have been some 10 or 12 metres to sail over the 240-foot fence. By that I mean 240 feet from home plate. And at the World Championships, New Zealand can look forward to having the fence another 10 feet further back, but even that wouldn't have worried Eddie Kalassi with that wonderful hit of his. So into the top half of the 5th innings, the first batter up will be Dean Prescott. Ball 1.
Come on now.
Prescott batting. Outside for a ball.
Come on, Chubb. Come on now. Strike.
Running hit, or an attempted running hit from Dean Prescott, but Chubb Tangaroa throwing his rise ball, and no way was Prescott getting near that.
Come on, Brad. Come on, Chubby. Strike 2.
Strike 2.
Prescott's in there. He's very, very fast. His nickname is Dino. An elevator constructor it's got down here, but at 150 pounds, you wonder, I guess he constructs the lower buttons in the elevator, isn't it?
2 and 2.
The Yanks need a hit.
Strikes.
Sorry, Gary.
Yeah, go on, off you go.
Well, the Yanks need a hit here. They really need to get the adrenaline going again.
Strike out.
And that's not the way to do it. Chubb's starting to roll.
Well, that's 6 strikeouts for Chubb Tangaroa in this game so far, and he's deserved them. And look how he got this one. A dropping delivery, and nicely gathered in by Carl Gould, because it was going away and inside. This New Zealand team, one would think that every one of them will be at Saskatoon and Saskatchewan for the World Championships come June, July of '88.
No, I think there will be a few surprises. They're going extremely well at the moment, but there's a few guys whose names aren't on that list at the moment that I think will still be there. There's the question of Meredith, who was not included on this side here, but I think if they get some sort of dispensation for him, he'll go very, very close. He certainly is world class. And the other thing is that if they don't choose Meredith for us, then he'll be on the Yankee side. So
already been named as #1 for the Americans. Should he choose to play or not be allowed to play for New Zealand, he'll opt to play for America. And I don't know that I'd like to see our New Zealanders against him, so it'll be interesting to see how the decision goes on behalf of the New Zealand Softball Association and whatever other opinions might be brought into play.
When the ball goes out of play, you don't change it.
Meredith has to play in the National League for this season before he can qualify.
Yes.
One of the balls giving a bit of trouble here, having to change the balls over with one of them scuffed up or damaged on the net.
It's the ball I put in. Strike 2.
Isaac says strike 2. Let's get back into the action.
Yeah, let's get some action. I want some of these Yanks on base here.
Strike out.
Whew, but not the way Chubb's thrown at the moment.
2 strikes. And again we see the dominance of Chubb Tangaroa as he builds his game as he normally does throughout each fixture. There's again the dropping delivery, and again well collected by Carl Gould. It was a carbon copy of the previous strikeout against Dean Prescott. So Carl Gould doing his job behind the mask, and very highly regarded as a top catcher. They can say just whatever they like about the American catcher Brad Burrett. I'll go with Carl Gould.
Or Sorensen. What about Sorensen?
Exactly. 2 outs.
Incidentally, if you were asking yourselves at home, where is sort of Sorensen? Well, he's here, and he played in the game there yesterday against these Yanks. In the second pitch of the game against these Yanks, Sorensen hit over the center field fence. So he certainly is in form. He isn't out there at the moment, but his name is down near 1 for the World Series.
Written in ink, not penciled in.
1 and 2.
1 ball, 2 strikes on the leadoff batter in the batting order for this Larry Miller Toyota team. 1 ball, 2 strikes. We're in the top half of the 5th innings. Carl Gould returning the ball there to Chubb Tangaroa, who with 1 ball and 2 strikes is perhaps just 1 pitch away from having another rest in the top of the 5th innings. How does he go? Strikes him out. 3 successive strikeouts for Chubb Tangaroa to take his tally up to 8 strikeouts, and one wonders whether or not he can also start packing his bags to go to Saskatoon and Saskatchewan. And have a look at this pitch from Tangaroa. Dropping delivery, and over the top of it was the swing, so they stay scoreless, this Larry Miller Toyota team. Bottom of the 5th. Now having a look at the scene here, Marshall. That's what the complex looks like at Saskatoon and Saskatchewan and Canada, where the World Championships will be staged during June, July. How would you like to come home to a complex like that?
Well, it's great. And that one on the right, the upper right there, is where they have the games organized for, and it seats something like 11,000. And they also have other sort of diamonds around that they'll use, but it's a fantastic sort of a complex.
And
there.
a baseball diamond in there as well.
Yes, they have that as well. It's it really is very, very special. Plus, the exciting news is that they're expecting 3 divisions of 8 teams each. So we've got a big sport in the way of nations that are playing at the moment. A few of the ones who have never been before are sort of Denmark, Zaire. You know, there's going to be all sorts of squads which we haven't seen at a World sort of Series in the past. But that would be extra good if it was split into 3 divisions, because it would mean that New Zealand, Canada, and the United States would all be in a separate sort of a warm-up group. And it's going to be a very exciting event.
Max Elliott will be first up to bat in the bottom half of the 5th innings for New Zealand. And a 3-0 lead to New Zealand. And just reminding you that at 4:45 tonight, we'll be bringing you highlights of the Australian innings as it went last night over in Perth at the Wacker Cricket Ground, and so highlights coming your way at 4:45.
And Jerry, the Wacker was a cracker.
Here we go now. Come on now,
Max Elliott ready to step into the batter's box.
Speaking of that other sport, I've got to say congratulations to Warren Lees and the boys for their Sterling Shell Club victory, because boy, to win a Nationals from the provinces at the moment, folks, is not easy. So Warren, all the best from everyone who doesn't live in Auckland and Wellington.
Max Elliott fouls it off. Lees and Blair participated in a double wicket cricket competition at the Basin Reserve. They won $1,000 and immediately donated it to Bruce Edgar because they were playing in a benefit day for him. There's a nice gesture for you.
South Island, mate.
Max Elliott still there. Oh, that's a fine hit from Elliott. Really rockets it out to left outfield, and there's
time.
A good play out there, and by the New Zealand team, some fine batting.
Yeah, here's Max. Max wants to go to the World Series by the look of it. Got a home run here yesterday, and he's still smacking that ball. He's an outfielder. He's plays sort of second base. Here we see him on first base on this game here. He's a useful guy to have in your team.
Well, he surely is. Now, I just wonder whether or not they'll bother making a team change. I see there are some potential changes coming because a couple of the Americans warming up over on the first base side of the action, and the damage has been done, I guess, but nevertheless. And Mark Sorensen comes into the game. He moves on to first base. Oh, there's a bouncy. Will they get the double play? No, they won't. Well, got the one at first, though, so 1 out. Time. Meanwhile, allows Mark Sorensen to go across to second base.
Actually, it's good the way the ball is batted down now. it's the same as cricket, really. If the ball hits the turf, you can't be caught out. You have to play it. And our batters are being instructed now to hit the ball down a lot more on the infield, as we saw a very good example of there. So he really had to hurry his throw onto one to make that out. But it just shows the added skills that we are acquiring now in our batting.
Mike Nichols into the batter's box. McLean out at first base. Sorensen on second base.
Big swing. Big cut from Nichols. He's batting 1,000. Duck on the pond out at 2. New Zealand will expect to score here.
Shallow right field territory. Will he get it? Oh, he misses it. He'll go to third base, Nichols. Meanwhile, scoring will be... Yeah, there's the run scoring. So Sorensen scores the run for New Zealand as they jump to a 4-run lead. And have a look at how it happened, because it slices off the bat of Mike Nichols. Looked to be going shallow. The breeze held it up a bit. Running in from right outfield is Dean Prescott. Doesn't glove the ball. Meanwhile, last scampering round the bases. Sorensen goes home first. That's the 4th run of the game as number 18, Mark Sorensen, scores it, which also allows Nichols to go to third base.
Well, yeah, here's the run scoring, but I will say this, that if you gave the outfielder another 3 sort of goes at that, every one of them he'd catch. I think that's an off-the-plane job there. He had the ball in his sights. He made a wonderful dive, and I'm surprised that the ball hadn't been caught.
Well, a pitching change coming now, because the misery is at an end for Terry Stapely. He's being taken off the mound. In for his place comes... Who is it? Neil Chadwick they're bringing in here to do the pitching. I don't know what pitching abilities Neil Chadwick have, but we're about to find out.
No, he's good. He had a game here the other day. He's got a bit of a sore back, which he had wrenched, I think, on Saturday against North Shore. But, oh, he can pitch. He can pitch. There's no doubt about that. He's a huge man.
He certainly looks as though he should be able to get the ball through rather quickly, and it'll depend on just how much training he's done and how much of a warm-up he's had. But
when I say huge, he's larger than Andy Hayden. Okay, he's about sort of 6'8", and he's got a lot on his frame.
Hear that thud into the wall.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that to hit your helmet.
Chadwick taking his last of the warm-up deliveries. He's allowed 5 of them. Never did go to secondary school. That was only his 4th one. Math's never my strong point.
That's a good shot, actually. You get a really a nice idea of just how that ball comes spinning down. But here comes the tank. Jimmy Hall, DH in this game. Another South Islander.
Runner on third base for New Zealand, and that is Michael Nichols. Jimmy Hall up to bat. We're in the bottom of the 5th.
We have 1 out. We have a runner on third base.
Once again, New Zealand will expect to score. They've got a job to do in there. Every guy knows if you have a runner on 3 and it's 1 down and you've got the New Zealand fern on, you're expected to move it.
Good job out there, you big one.
There is the runner on 3. Hall into bat, and New Zealand will expect to score.
Ball.
Ball inside to make it ball 1, strike 1, and the game going into a bit of a dull period because everyone's sensing that New Zealand able now to cruise to a win.
Yep. Now, it's really hard now at the Yanks. I mean, if you're down by more than 2, it's very hard to fire up. I mean, if you're against a world-class squad, and, of course, we are the world champs, and you get down by more than 2, it's really hard to keep the adrenaline flowing. But there's the big man out there. There's a hit. Foul.
Foul.
Neil Chadwick with a nickname of Chicken Hawk. I haven't had nerve enough to ask him why he's called Chicken Hawk, but that's what they got in the book.
Like you can now, like you can now. Exaggerate it now. Good kick.
That's the way to start it off, isn't it? In with a K on Jimmy Hall.
And a fine strikeout it was too from the pitching arm of Neil Chadwick. One batter, one strikeout, and Dave Workman, the new batter in.
Good pitch. Nice drop right under the bat. And here's Carl Gould in now.
Dave Workman.
Oh, no, Dave Workman, sorry. Gee, we bat all the way down, though, don't we? My goodness.
Oh, you can bat a guy like Workman at 7, you're in happy street, aren't you? Oh, what a nice pitch. That's that change-up delivery. We've not seen many of them today. Strike 2.
Go smash clean.
See if he can record 2 in a row.
Exaggerate it now, Neil.
Here comes Neil Chadwick, searching for his second successive strikeout. Whoa.
Where did that go?
That went over to the caravan there, which almost out of sight.
2 strikes.
Nice music now.
Time.
Chadwick having a spell as the ball floats back into the diamond, having been right out of play. So 4 runs to 0 to New Zealand and a runner on the bases.
That'll be caught. Second base back. Easy catch.
Out.
Right, now let's see if the Yanks can get a run.
It was an easy catch, but nevertheless, we saw Dave Workman getting bat on ball after thundering a hit out into the foul territory on the previous pitch, but moving back and all the confidence and time in the world for John Jones, the sun in his eyes, but he shields it in perfect style. 3 down. New Zealand scoring the 1 run in that innings to move their score along to 4 runs to 0, and this game really has had a fair bit of action, Marshall, but it's all been one-sided to a large degree.
Yeah, well, actually, that was interesting about the sun in his eyes, because it was in his eyes. But experience, all you do is hold up the glove, which shades your eyes, and you can still sort of watch the ball. But, yeah, that would have been straight into the sun. That's interesting. If we do spot an error out there at the moment, that could be a reason for it. I mean, it is a shame that the game has gone a bit quiet, but we are this good. You know, last year we had these Asian squads here and we mowed through them, and everybody said, oh, well, we have to have a team that's better. Well, these guys are in the top 5 in the States, and there's another squad on its way out here that also is very, very good. In fact, they have Schultz on the mound for them, and he's a New Zealander who has already accepted the American spot in the sort of World Series. So these guys are good, but we're very good.
Mark Burup is the new batter in, facing Tangaroa. Kalassi across with all the ease and time in the world to make it the first out of the innings, and on first base the New Zealand team looking good. And here we see the hit go down there, and Eddie Kalassi actually moved the ball over and doing it rather nicely too. Eddie Kalassi, who has been in the action so much, especially with that huge home run of his.
Strike.
Gordon Eakin, strike 1. Gordon Eakin up to bat.
Strike 2.
Strike 2. Change in the New Zealand team with them putting Mark Sorensen out into right outfield now. He has replaced Max Elliott out there. So quite a few changes being run, with McLean going across to first base.
Ball. 1 and 2.
Ball 1, strike 2. This batter is Gordon Eakin. A rearranged New Zealand team out there.
Ball! 2-2.
Ball 2, strike 2. 4 runs to 0. New Zealand leading against this Larry Miller Toyota team from Salt Lake City.
Yeah, these guys need a break here at the moment. They need to get a little bit of luck, maybe a good smack hit, something to get them going again, because Chubb, at this stage of any game, is just ruthless. He just gets so much movement on the ball. I mean, when he throws a rise, it rises. His drop drops, and he's quick.
Ball!
Well, that could be the breakthrough that they need to get a runner on base.
That's right.
Max Elliott, interesting to notice here, that Max Elliott has been replaced twice as a runner, so they don't have much respect for his legs.
That's a good point, isn't it? Yeah, I see that they have McLean on 1 at the moment, so that's been a change in the lineup out there. So I guess that Max is out of the game, is he? Unless they've hidden him in the outfield. No, he's out at the moment, right?
Sorensen's gone into right field for New Zealand.
Okay, now let's see a good steal here, a good hit. Let's get something going, fellas. Incidentally, we have got to say it, that the first game these guys had played was a cracker of a game, if you want to sort of watch. But they must be getting a bit on the tired side. You know, off the plane on Friday, and they played that well this morning that they're just starting to look a little jaded here. But a run could fire them up again.
The batter is Brad Burrup. Gordon Eakin is safe on first base. And a home run to make it 4-2 would certainly set this game alight again.
Foul! Okay, it's over here.
Right off the mask, then. You see that? Thunk into the mask, but it didn't hurt Gould. Gould is a local police officer. That ball just smashed right into his mask, and I don't think he blinked.
Strike 2.
Brad Burrup still in there. There's 1 out.
Good stop.
Nicely taken.
Oh, out of sight. Now, that's what New Zealand, that's their big problem at the moment, is the left side of the diamond. We don't have that tied now, but this is a line shot. Workman just dives to his right, stops it, gets up, rifles the throw over to 1, and as you can see, he got the out. Good softball.
Meanwhile, Gordon Eakin has gone to second base, so he still is in very much better scoring position and still there and looking for the opportunity to scamper home. Ross Caputo, the new batter in. And a full list of American teams here over the next couple of months as New Zealand build towards their World Championship effort, which comes up in June, July of this year.
Okay, Tiger's going to get a hit here.
Strike!
Did you hear me, Tiger?
Strike 1. 2 outs.
Come on, Ross, baby. Give it a ride. Ooh, high outside. He wanted to go for it. 1-1 now. Come on, Caputo.
Two outs. Top half of the 6th innings.
That was the one to hit, wasn't it, Gary?
Well, it certainly was floating up there, but it had a fair bit of movement on it. That's the big man, Ross Caputo, for the Salt Lake City team. Tangaroa.
Strike out.
Oh,
Struck out. Nice pitching from Chubb Tangaroa. It records his 9th strikeout of the game so far. And New Zealand leading by their 4-0 lead. Here's the strikeout to end the innings. What a good dropping delivery it was. Meantime, Brendan is ready, I think. Brendan going to have a talk with someone over here.
Well, thank you, Gary. This time I'm talking to Eric Kalassi, probably the proudest father here at the Rosedale ballpark after watching his son slam that ball over the fence a few innings back. Eric, looking at the scoreboard 4-0, it's a rather repetition of what we saw here in the matches yesterday. Do you really think these matches are providing New Zealand with the sort of opposition they want as part of their build-up for the World Championships?
Well, I think so, because it's at least it's bringing the boys together. It gives Mike Walsh the chance to sort of look at the players, take a bit of pressure. Okay, it might be one-sided from the score side of things, but I think it's worthwhile.
Well, what aspects of New Zealand's play have impressed you today?
Batting. You know, we seem to be capable now of hitting a long ball, where before we just didn't manage to sort of hit the big ones over the park. It's all diamonds in the States are all in close, so you've got to have the Chiefs batters now to hit them out for 1-0 ball games, wherever it is.
We were talking to Dave Sorensen a few innings back, who said that perhaps it was a little surprising to see that big hit coming from Eddie, because his form hadn't been all that good over the last week or so. How did you feel when you saw it? Did you know it was always there?
It's always there. There's few players in New Zealand that you never trust. Doesn't matter if they're having a slump, you never put it down the middle. Anything can happen, and Eddie's one of them.
I'm starting to think here that it might be an object lesson here for Jeff Crow watching the performance of your son today.
Well, this is it. It's a kid like that can do a lot for confidence. Poor Martin, I think he needs a good score, and he's away laughing.
Eric, thanks very much for talking to us. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Back to you, Gary.
Thank you, Brendan. And Eddie Kalassi putting that one out of the park, and a man who was able to do that, of course, was the man he was talking to, Eric Kalassi, who wasn't shy about giving the ball a decent thump now and again, as you would well remember, Marshall.
Wasn't he scary at second base? You'd be standing on one, and he says, "I'm waiting for you, I'm waiting for you."
John Nightingale batting for New Zealand. We're in the bottom half of the 6th innings, with Neil Chadwick doing a good job on the mound.
Catch.
Okay, here was an easy out. Ball hit down to 3, fired it over to 1. There she goes, right down and over to 1. You're speaking with sort of Kalassi, though. He's the head of the Marist softball club up here, and they have almost 30 teams which go down to under 10 in the Marist organization up here. Of course, he's very active as well with Marist in rugby, and one of their coaches as well. So the Marist team now in Auckland is just very, very impressive.
Carl Gould in the batter's box. Ball 1, strike 1.
Good shot now. Come on, Megan. Come on now.
The concentration that's on these guys at the moment, I mean, let's face it, everybody is playing for a place, even if you're chosen on this first A team. And with Carl knows that he, although he is catching well here and batting well, you also have Mark Sorensen who can catch. So Carl knows that he has to compete for his place, even though he was our captain last year.
And doing it so well, too. Hanging in there and waiting for the somewhat slower pitches of Neil Chadwick to come through.
Yeah, I think if we explain about that black under the eye as well, it isn't an affectation. There's a high fly ball, shortstop under it, out number 2. Yeah, if we do explain about that black, there's a great glare off the diamond here, so it is wise to use the black. I know when it first arrived here, I kind of laughed at it myself, but it does stop the glare on your cheeks. There's the easy out, it's short. So you'll see almost all of our players using that black. And as I say, it isn't an affectation. It's there for a very good reason.
Fred Wyatt up to bat for New Zealand. 2 outs. Ball high and outside.
In fact, Gary, there are a lot of things that we accept now, like the gloves he's wearing. If you remember when they first arrived, we thought everyone was a Flash Harry if you had these gloves. But they do allow you a firmer sort of a grip on it. It's like a golf glove, you know.
And every bit of edge they can get from the game, they should be taking advantage of. 2 outs. Wyatt the batter, inside, ball. Let's have a look at those batting gloves. You can see them there, Marshall. They've got a bit of a gritty palm to them, so they really do enhance the grip on the bat. And let's see if Fred Wyatt can put it to good effect and plonk one over the fence for us. Well, on that one with a nice delivery from Neil Chadwick.
Big Neil. Chicken Hawk. Here he goes. There's a good hit, but straight to center field. 3 up, 3 down.
Well, the third out coming from the bat of Fred Wyatt. He got bat to ball well enough. And here he sails it out into centre field, and moving under it to take the catch is Randy Ward, who has all the time in the world. Makes it 3 out, 4-0 to New Zealand over this Larry Miller Toyota team from Salt Lake City. That's how the score stands after 6 completed innings.
I'm Egbert, the expert. I'm a pretty eggy bloke, because I'm egg over heels about eggs. Poached or scrambled, fried or boiled, an egg or two keeps your motor oiled. Raring to go, raring to go. Cause eggs is easy, eggs is fun. Eggs is quick so you can get out in the sun. Look in your listener for my summer recipes and you'll be a huge success. Sure as eggs is eggs. Exceptional.
It's summertime fun and a snack on the run. A burger and a drink when you're having fun. Day and night, a burger from Uncle's is love at first bite. Oh, it's summertime fun and a snack on the run. Yeah, a summer snack when you're having fun. Day and night, a burger from Uncle's is love at first bite. A summer snack when you're having fun.
Moving into the top half of the 7th innings, the first batter in for the Americans is John Jones, to be followed by Gary Cleverly and then Dean Prescott. So down into the lower portion of the American batting order as Chubb Tangaroa prepares for the first pitch.
It should be sort of 3 outs here at the moment, but I would like to stress that the first game we had recorded really was an excellent game of softball. This one, we're aware, is going a bit quiet after that munch we gave him in the 3rd innings, but the game that you'll see after this is well worth a watch. Hey, the way he's firing at the moment, I think it's going to be sort of 3 up and 3 down here, and it wouldn't surprise me if Chubb, if he got them all on Ks.
Foul.
He's certainly firing up at the moment.
One and two.
Ball 1, strike 2. On this, the first batter of the 7th innings, John Jones, the batter. Ball. A brushing of the plate from umpire Isaac. First batter of the 7th innings, John Jones.
Strike out.
Here he goes. He's starting to fire. Old Chubby out there. Look, he's finally smiling for a change. I think he quite enjoyed that.
10 strikeouts for Chubb Tangaroa. This is how the 10th one came. Well, that's a good riser. That really skipped up out of the action. Yeah. So just 2 outs away from ending this game. New Zealand, they will not require their 7th turn at bat unless something miraculous happens. Ball outside.
Yeah, I think he's going to go through him like a hot knife here at the moment.
Woo! That's a long one, but... Oh, well taken by Mark Sorensen. Again, having to struggle just a little bit with the sun out there, but nevertheless getting under it in plenty of time, and again putting his hand up. So here's a catcher playing out in right outfield, and watch Sorensen move out, having to go quite a way to his right. Up goes the hands. Nicely taken, 2 outs.
Yeah, here's me saying he's going to mow him down. He just about hits it out of the park. Can't fall asleep there.
Dean Prescott, who could well be the last batter of this game. Tangaroa.
Oh, there's another hit. That's just about as deep. Sorensen with a great catch. What a way to end the game. Sorensen, who's caught all of this championship. That's the first time he's been in the outfield. What a superstar. Guy can play anyway. Watch this. He's fading back, just like Patel. He snatches the ball over his head.
Well, what a way to end the game. The game which burst into excitement in the 3rd innings with the runs being scored by Dave Workman Carl Gould and then Eddie Kalassi. That was the third innings for New Zealand to jump to that 3-0 lead. There then followed in the fifth innings Mark Elliott's scoring of his run to make it 4 runs to 0 to New Zealand. And the New Zealand team looking particularly good, and the pitching really dominated by Chubb Tangaroa. He had some loose moments during the game, but basically doing his job pretty well and having to come from behind on many occasions. 4-0 New Zealand over Larry Miller Toyota. Over now to Brennan Telford.